Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's Thomas Kren webinar. My name is Stefan and I will be your host today. And today's topic is more than a next gen firewall, security beyond network boundaries with OPNsense and Zenarmor. And I'm very pleased, very happy to be your host today because for two special reasons. Number one, as you may already hear, today's webinar will be held in English. And that is because of the second reason. We have two very special speakers today who are employees of Zenarmor. Firstly, we have Shoji Klaus, Director of Customer Experience, and we have Lyle Simon, Product Leader of Zenarmor, as I already said. So we will get information directly from the source, and in front of you, you already see today's agenda. I think the both of them will talk about that later. At the end of this slide, you already see there will also be a live demo today and a Q&A session, which I will talk about in a few seconds. So before I welcome our speakers today, I would like to talk about some organizational matters. As always, this webinar will be recorded and made available to you via email after this webinar, so you can always watch a recording on demand. The duration of today's webinar will be approximately 45 minutes in order for us to have some more time for the Q&A session, which will be afterwards. And at the very end of this webinar, you will be able to answer a survey that will only take 20 seconds. And we would encourage you to give us your feedback because that helps us to improve those webinars and tailor them to your wishes, your demands. And yeah, if you have any questions during the webinar, you will have a chat window which says Fragen, which is questions in English. I don't think that this is translated in GoToWebinar. So Fragen, there you can ask all your questions and all of them will be answered later during the Q&A session. If there is any question that is too complex or for any reason cannot be answered on the spot, then after the webinar, you will get an email which answers your questions. So ask away because none of your questions are wasted. So without further ado, I would like to give a warm welcome to today's speakers. Hello, Shoji. Hello, Lyle. Ah, there they are. Okay. Hi, Lyle.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning. Very good to have you. And yeah, I heard you are joining us from like overseas and very far away. So from where are you joining us?
So yeah, go ahead, Sergi. Go ahead.
Shoji, where are you joining us today?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time today. I'm joining from California, Central Valley, just outside of Silicon Valley.
Okay, from California. That means it's like 1 a.m. right now.
Yes, it is 1:04 a.m. here in California.
Okay, so thank you for your time at that very late hour. Okay, Lyle, where do you join from?
So I'm dialing in from Cape Town in South Africa.
Okay.
We more or less on the same time zone as what you are at the moment. So it's our daylight hours, fortunately, and yeah, it's great that Sergi has joined us at 1 o'clock in the morning. We really appreciate having him here. It's
Absolutely.
it's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd say to everyone and especially to you to have fun and take it away with the webinar. See you later.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good. So let me share my slides. Turn off my camera. There we go. Right, so thanks everybody once again for joining us. And today we're going to dive a little bit into what goes beyond the perimeter. So a lot of you may already be familiar with Zenarmor running on OPNsense, protecting your perimeter firewalls. And today we're going to look at some of our latest technology, how we extend past this, and we're going to be talking about a little bit about other new deployment methods that we bring into place, which you might not have heard from or heard about already. So just a quick brief intro to our agenda today. We're going to look at these, how security has changed over the last couple of years and talk about how current approaches, are they keeping up or not? And then we're going to look at some of the main drivers behind why this is happening. And we're going to look at some of the common challenges that we see with perimeter-based firewalls as well as with legacy VPNs. And then we're briefly going to introduce how we can extend past the perimeter the Zenarmor way. We're going to look at some of our deployment options as well that we can bring into the mix. And I think the key theme around here, and it's an important one, is while maintaining data sovereignty and control of your network. So just a quick note on that: Zenarmor allows you to maintain control and sovereignty of your data within your network boundaries. Unlike some of the other providers out there where you have to send your data up to a cloud or to a central point for an inspection. This is Zenarmor's claim to fame, if we can put it in that way, or our unique differentiator within the market, that we have provide data sovereignty and control, and it's always within your bounds. And then we're going to dive into a quick live demo. I'm going to show you around the new platform for those of you that haven't seen it already, and some Q&A session from there. So I think let's dive straight in. We don't have a lot of time and there's a lot of information to get through. But the question is, did you know that network security has changed, and is your current approach keeping up? So as I briefly mentioned earlier, over the last couple of years, particularly, we've seen after COVID and during COVID, how there was this massive shift where the perimeter kind of wasn't irrelevant or wasn't relevant anymore. People no longer went to the office. They no longer benefited from that perimeter firewall, that castle and moat type environment, which a lot of you are familiar with. And a lot of people started working remotely and accessing SaaS apps directly, and they were working from coffee shops at home, etc. So this is one of the biggest shifts that's happened. But with that shift, there's a lot of things that came in now that created problems, because they're not behind your firewall anymore. You can't see what they're doing. So, can you find these gaps in your network when they are outside of your network? Things like lateral movement becomes a problem now, where a lot of companies went and built VPN type solutions or used existing VPN solutions. And now all of a sudden, these machines on the outside are getting compromised. Somebody breaks in through a VPN, steals a credential, and they get right into your castle, and it's basically like giving away the keys to your kingdom. And then, we've got all these new standards that have come in. So Zero-Trust and these things that, you're hearing about over the internet and in webinars and podcasts and so forth. This is the way that the world is moving, where we bring in these Zero-Trust principles, where we always want to be able to never trust. We always want to verify and continuously keep on verifying and looking at various other contexts and so forth. So in a nutshell, if your strategy still assumes that you have an inside and an outside, then you're defending a perimeter that no longer exists. So I'm going to hand over to Soji, and he's going to briefly talk about some of the main drivers why this is happening. Soji?
Thank you, Lyle. So as you can see, there's a lot of reasons why there's a demand for modernization of this remote access for your enterprise and for your organizations. In a post-COVID world, you can see that nearly 60% of all workers, employees, contractors had either a full-time remote or hybrid remote work arrangement with the organization. They're connecting from untrusted networks, from managed devices, untrusted devices, BYOD. There's been a massive adoption since in recent times of many SaaS applications, the ones that are sanctioned by your organization, and there's unsanctioned applications that people use for activity. And these unsanctioned apps can oftentimes bypass your traditional visibility and your security for your organization. So how do you get the visibility that you need to protect your infrastructure? So because of this increase of workers, the legacy VPN connectivity pre-COVID might have worked for a handful of users, but now you got 60% of your workforce connecting remotely. What we discovered is that there can be severe bandwidth and bottlenecks and user latency, giving a very poor user experience as people are just trying to be productive from their remote access. Furthermore, you're lacking the visibility and the ability to apply filtering or security on these applications that you can't even see. Another portion of the problem that's introduced by legacy VPNs is, as Lyle mentioned previously, is that a VPN connectivity, sure, it gives a secure tunnel from that remote user or that remote branch to your headquarters, but those credentials, if they're exposed or compromised, causes that lateral movement. In fact, 60% of breaches involve these compromised credentials, and we see this all the time. How do we increase the visibility and security of the connectivity with what we have here? So modern remote access really demands that the connectivity is identity driven, that we have a least privilege access model, and that this security and visibility can be applied in the new perimeter, which is remote workforce, wherever they are, whether they're inside of the headquarters, branch location, or working from home or in the cafe.
Perfect. So I think we're going to break it down into two sections now that we understand the problems from a high level, and we're going to drill it down a little bit to something that's more familiar to everybody, where we look at the traditional perimeter-based firewall, which a lot of you might already have in place. Some of you may even have your OPNsense protecting your perimeter, and it's great having it there, having Zenarmor running on it. But you may have not explored any of our new secure access service edge and those type of products that we've developed in the last 2 years, and be familiar more so with our next gen products. So if you're in that kind of playing field at this stage where you are today, you perhaps have limited or even possibly completely blind to the traffic that's happening if you don't have any kind of layer 7 visibility on your network. Things like applications, you might not know that they're there. You might not be able to control them. This brings in things like shadow IT risks and so forth. And then to make it even more difficult, when the user is outside of your perimeter, you have no protection a lot of the time, unless you're trying to tunnel them in through a VPN and then provide that protection. But that's already a good step in the right direction. But is it the most ideal way of doing it? And then some problems we've seen very recently. I'm not going to mention particular vendors in this case, and I'll remain neutral. But we've seen some vendors lock people into their ecosystems, and they've got high total cost of ownership. They force you to buy proprietary hardware, and these cycles become really expensive every 3 to 5 years, which are disruptive. Sometimes you can't even get configs across from a legacy or a end of life device to a new one easily. So you're stuck in the cycle all the time. So where Zenarmor, Zenarmor's opinion, where you should be heading is you should be nowadays looking at full hidden threat visibility. There should be TLS-Inspection at some point on your network, that you're looking at the important things. You're looking at the encrypted, the threats that are hidden behind the encryption, essentially, and weeding those out. Considering that 90% of traffic nowadays is encrypted, bad actors know this and they use it to their advantage. And you should, in your security stack, have full layer 2 to 7 inspection, control, and visibility of all applications, data transfers. This should be across east-west traffic, north-south traffic. Everywhere that you have traffic going, you need to have that visibility. And most importantly, with such a large amount of remote workers out there today, you need to have protection for those people as well, and control, regardless of where they're connecting from, regardless of which network they're using. And then finally, hardware choice and refresh cycles should be yours ultimately. If you can build custom hardware, if you can choose when you want to refresh and not be forced into vendors' refresh cycles or proprietary hardware, we believe that that's an ideal place for you to be today. So just a takeaway from the slide, when you're building your next security solution, it should not only include just a modern perimeter, but you should also start looking at things like your endpoints for your remote workers, as well as your cloud protection. And ideally, this should be under one unified security platform. So I'm going to hand over to Soji again, and he's going to talk about some of the common challenges with legacy VPNs.
Thank you, Lyle. So legacy VPNs still can address some of the remote connectivity today, but it introduces a wide array of security concerns. One of the problems with the legacy VPN is that it can potentially grant a whole network access from that remote device, which may be managed or unmanaged, to the full access to your critical resources, your headquarters, to your private applications, your data stores, and so forth. This is in violation of what we call the least privilege architecture. And I actually see this in my role. I see this all the time. Customers might have a good firewall or whatnot. They invite someone to connect remotely, and they might have a crypto ransomware or a virus that's remote. And now that virus or the compromised credentials can invite an attack through the encrypted tunnel to your critical resources. So, and I see that with the current VPNs and some of the other solutions out there that are a little bit easier to manage, but they don't give you what's called ZTNA, Zero Trust Network Access, which adheres to that least privilege model. It's specific to the user accessing that internal application or the internal resource. We can narrow down the connectivity to a VLAN, a segmented network, even down to an IP address, a port, a protocol, an application. It's very granular, and it gives you way better control over that connectivity. Furthermore, legacy VPNs present a single point of failure. With 60% of remote workforce all coming through remotely, either hybrid or full-time, if that VPN gateway goes down, those people cannot access the resources that they need or apply the security that you need for them to be productive. So it's really important to have something like Zenarmor's Zero Trust Network Access, which is distributed and resilient. If a single point of failure or a single gateway goes down, we have several. We'll talk a little bit about our application, our single app that can redirect to other gateways or even go from point to point from the endpoints themselves to make sure that people have connectivity and the visibility and security is applied as you're trying to access those resources, despite one of those points of entrance being going down. Another problem with as Lau mentioned earlier, with that encrypted tunnel that's there, you often lose the ability to inspect what's happening inside of there. You need to have some inspection capabilities, and we provide that with full layer 2 through 7 inspection and visibility. You have complete visibility into what applications your users are using. They're adopting unsanctioned applications, what sort of data transfers are happening, as well as the web traffic that's happening as well. I mentioned earlier that there's massive backhauling and bottlenecking and slowing down of cloud applications as you hairpin the traffic from a remote location through your headquarters and out to the cloud. Here, we can have direct inline connectivity to your cloud resources and so forth. Another problem with legacy VPNs is that with just 20 users, I've managed 5 campuses and had a handful of users that were connected via VPN. That can still be incredibly difficult to manage, especially when it's now 60% of the users that are remotely accessing your critical resources. You have to manage the application, the keys, the users, the logins. You have to keep an eye on when you can open that tunnel, when they're moving across your organization, or when they leave altogether. The great thing about our Zenarmor ZTNA is that it integrates with your identity access, and as the user moves across the organization, all the keys are managed seamlessly on the back end, and their permissions specifically for their role are opened and granted and taken down as they move across your organization or they leave it at the organization. So VPN replacement is no longer really an option. It's critical that organizations adopt a more modern network security architecture.
Perfect. Thanks, Soji. All right. So I think this is where it all comes together. So extending past the perimeter, as the title of the webinar suggests. So the way Zenarmor sees this coming together is at the perimeter, we live on a OPNsense gateway. We actually platform agnostic at this stage. So we can run across not only OPNsense, but Ubuntu, CentOS, Open WRT. We can even run Dockerized in Docker containers at this point. And at the perimeter, we offer all the modern secure web gateway application controls, web controls, TLS inspection, and so forth. And this is all driven around user and group policy enforcement, where, as Soji mentioned earlier, you can bring your IDP into Zenarmor and you can authenticate and use that to create policies and so forth within your environment. And then also for IoT and OT security as a gateway to protect those types of devices that can't run its own security or that are, don't have root access on those particular devices. This is an important way that we can protect those as well. And then connectivity, and this is something that might be new to a lot of people that are familiar with Zenarmor, is that now we offer the ability to build these zero trust networks, these ZTNA networks, which is similar to some of the other products you might see on the internet. At this stage, where we can actually have mobile devices connecting in through a gateway remotely being protected by a Zenarmor gateway. We can build overlay networks between endpoints and services directly, offering peer-to-peer connectivity. And what's important is we also look at things like the application, the user, the consistent verification of these type of communications in order to make sure that the user is who they are, the device that they're on, where they're located, and so forth. So at a perimeter, this is one way of deploying it, and we'll dive into the deployment options shortly after this. And then at an endpoint, this is also something that's new. It may be new to a lot of Zenarmor users, but Zenarmor has taken our entire engine that we've created that runs on a gateway, and we've built it in a way that it can run directly on your endpoint as well. So it gives you deployment flexibility. Let's say if you don't want to use a gateway, you could run it directly on your MacBook or directly on your Windows machine. And all the inspection that you would get on the gateway happens directly on that endpoint's interface, on that network interface. And it's all the same functionality you'd get at the perimeter. You've just now moved it up directly to your endpoint. And this obviously is great if you have remote workers that you don't want to backhaul through a VPN to be inspected. You can have everything happening locally. And this all gets managed across the entire global organization with Zen Console. So regardless where they're connecting from, the policy always remains persistent on their machine. They take Zenarmor with them. And the agent on these endpoints can also connect them up to private resources, cloud resources with a peer-to-peer network as well. So we have that built in. Then we've also built in CrowdStrike integration, where we can use CrowdStrike's device posture checks and security to also act as a factor in determining the safety of that connection, making sure that the machine is patched correctly, that the security level is correct on that device before any network resources are shared. And then finally, we can live in the cloud as well. So Zenarmor has got various headless installation techniques at the moment, where you can deploy us directly in cloud environments to inspect your cloud workloads, to provide a means of connectivity for your endpoints and your perimeter to connect up to that cloud. And as I mentioned earlier, we've also got Dockerized or Docker container deployment options now, which is quite new. So the big picture here and the takeaway is basically that Zenarmor offers this data sovereignty by design. All management and visibility is provided by one dashboard, which is called Zen Console, which you may be familiar with. And all of this is tied under one roof and one umbrella. Soji, is there anything else you'd like to add before we move into deployments?
Yeah, I'd like to quickly talk about double down on this the data sovereignty of our design here. There are other vendors out there that security vendors that offer secure access service edge or ZTNA, but their strategy, which was improvement of the old hub and spoke, where everything used to hairpin through a data center for security, is what they've done is they've made what are called cloud points of presence. And in order to remotely connect, say, from your home to the headquarters, your traffic and your sensitive data needs to go up into a third-party security vendor's cloud where your traffic and your sensitive corporate data is decrypted, inspected by a third party, and then the security is enforced, and then it has a hairpin back down to the headquarter for that access. What we do is significantly different, and we simplify that a lot. And Lyle will show a bunch of slides coming up here with architecture. I want you to pay attention to the little Zenarmor icon and where it resides. It resides in the gateway and on the endpoints, and the connectivity goes point to point inline directly with Zenarmor from a laptop, from a cafe, directly to your headquarters, because we have all that full security stack residing on the laptop as well as the data center. This dramatically reduces the complexity of having to navigate the connectivity of trying to go up and find a cloud pop and come back down. We increase the speed. With the other cloud pops come another a wide array of problems as well. Because these are public cloud pops with either hundreds or thousands of users connecting through them, the vendors need to throttle your bandwidth, and they need to charge for the bandwidth speed as well as the amount of data that goes through there. With Zenarmor, we apply all the security and at speed. You can have Zoom conferences, and all that data stays within the perimeter of your extended network and security, as opposed to having to go up into the cloud and come back down. And we find our customers are delighted that they're within a few button clicks, they're able to create this architecture and have this wonderful experience of having the full speed connectivity without throttling and bandwidth, as well as the security and visibility applied. So that's the key differentiator for us in terms of maintaining data sovereignty by our design.
Perfect. Great. So just to show you what this looks like, some visuals here. So a lot of you are already most likely familiar with a gateway or CPE type deployment. And as Soji was mentioning earlier, look at where the Zenarmor icons are living here. So in this case, Zenarmor can run directly on any of the supported OSs. In this case, we've got an OPNsense gateway, and you can have all of your devices that are behind that gateway protected by OPNsense. By OPNsense and Zenarmor, but you can also have Zenarmor running directly on your end. Also, when these guys leave the network, they carry Zenarmor with them, and they have that same level of protection as what they would have behind the gateway. And this is great, for retail locations, campuses, any of those kind of things where you want to have Next Gen Firewall capabilities, and then also have the ability to connect, with your remote workers, away from the network. And all of this is controlled through one dashboard called Zen Console. So gateways and CPE deployments aside, another way of deploying us could be in the cloud, where you could spin up a virtual machine running Zenarmor, and you could place it in front of your cloud work alerts, and you could benefit from the egress traffic inspection that happens there. That's another way we could use Zenarmor. And then a third way of using it would be similar to the gateway method, where we could have Zenarmor sitting in front of your IoT or your OT devices, or even legacy systems which can't run any kind of modern security. It can act as a gateway to protect all the egress traffic on these particular devices as well. This could be a Dockerized container that you could run in front of these. It could be an OpenWRT CPE. It can be an OPNsense gateway. Any way that you want to set this up, we give you that kind of deployment flexibility. And then this is a whole new approach to Zenarmor, where we can have endpoint-only deployments. So if you don't want to have gateways on your network protecting your devices behind those gateways, Zenarmor, as I said, can run directly on the endpoint as well. So on your MacBook, Windows machine, Linux, we can all live on those devices, as well as iOS and Android devices. And from here, you can have all the inspection happening locally on Windows, Mac, and Linux. And for our iOS and Android devices, they will send the traffic through your nearest gateway that you've set up within your network. So in that case, the local inspection happens Windows, Mac, and Linux, and then for Android and iOS devices, we pass the inspection onto a gateway. The main reason for this is just because of the limitations with development on those devices, inspecting traffic directly on an Android and particularly an iOS or Apple device. If anybody's done Apple development, knows that things like that can be quite a pain in those ecosystems. So this is how we deploy endpoints only, and it's our newest way of doing this. And all the TLS inspection and everything can happen on these remote devices. All the visibility is maintained through Zen Console and through the dashboard. So just briefly to show you what it looks like, I've taken a screenshot of how this looks on a endpoint. I've got a MacBook here, and you can see the Zenarmor application is running directly on this particular device. All the inspection is happening locally. And then on the left, I've got a iPhone connected with the Zenarmor connector app, and that's connecting me up to the closest gateway where all my inspection is happening. And also from here, it's not only just internet security, you can use the same technology to access your private resources like you would across any other kind of overlay or VPN. This is all built automatically for you in the background. You simply set up an overlay network, which I'll show you how to do shortly. And all of this is automated and your devices are connected and ready to go. So that's a perspective from what it looks like on an endpoint. So this can all also come together very nicely in a hybrid deployment style where you can mix and match how you would like to use Zenarmor. So you could have some gateways running Zenarmor, you can have some endpoints running Zenarmor, you could be running in the cloud all simultaneously. And this is great for mixed environments, as we're aware that most companies these days have a cloud element, a remote worker element, and a branch element. So you can deploy Zenarmor across all of these environments, and you can have consistent security wherever you go moving forward. So that's what that would look like. So we're going to jump into a quick demo for the next 10 to 15 minutes just to show you what this looks like. Quickly share my screen. Right, so we are in Zen Console. For those of you that haven't already seen this, this is our latest organization dashboard that we offer. So with our SSE and our SASE license tiers, you get these new dashboard functions, which you might have not seen if you are an existing business edition Next Gen Firewall user at this stage. But this is for SASE users. So if you're a SASE subscription, this is what you'll see. And we have this new global threats dashboard. And the way it works is it gives us a bird's eye view of exactly what is happening on the network at any given time. These little bubbles that form show you where the majority of the threats are happening on your network, and you can actually drill down into these and you can see where they're happening. So I've got a lot of threats happening in the Netherlands at the moment. So it gives me a good starting point to go and see what's happening there. And from here, I can simply come down and I can look at the top threats detected. And here we can see we've got things like malware and viruses, and we've got various phishing and virus outbreaks, malformed DNS packets. And from here, I can actually drill down into the live sessions and I can show you which device exactly or where this point in your global network this is happening. You can see the device it's tied into, and then also because Zenarmor is user-centric, the actual user that it's tied to. So in this case, we've got just a demo network. You can see it's tied to the demo at Demoland user. And then this gives us an immediate point to go and investigate, to put any kind of a mitigation in place. The same applies for our applications and our web traffic. We give you an immediate view of what's happening on your network, what are the top applications that are being used within your network. And from here, you can use this as an easy way to look out for things like shadow IT, any unsanctioned applications which you might have work, and once again, tie it right down to the actual user that's accessing that application, and then put the relevant mitigation into place or the policy in place to be able to block it or prevent it. And then finally, from a very high level, we look at the entire bandwidth usage over time for this global organization. So we can use this as an easy way to create baselines. We can see during certain hours, we expect a certain baseline of traffic to be forming through our network. Let's say there's an odd spike in upload traffic at 3 a.m. in the morning. That could be something where somebody's potentially exfiltrating data, or there's an upload happening from your network that shouldn't be. It's out of the norm. this is a great way to be able to identify that. And from here, you can also look at the users that it's tied to, the top users on your network, the bandwidth hogs, as some people like to call them. You can find those bits of information here. And this is not where visibility ends. We'll quickly dive into the reports shortly as well. This is just the initial bird's eye view to give you an immediate, visibility into your network. So we briefly spoke about how all of these things are deployed earlier, but we've given you a very straightforward UI for this, where all of your gateways and endpoints can be managed and deployed directly from Zen Console. So here we have just a table showing all of the devices that are currently on the network. This is all, filterable, so you can filter, you can pick if you just want to see what gateways you have or what endpoints you have in your network. It's all here. You can control all aspects of the endpoints. You can lock them down. You can update them. There's all these global actions that we offer here. We can sync all policies to them. So we give you this global ability to do that. And then adding endpoints and gateways is really straightforward as well. So you simply select a gateway that you want. You pick the platform of your choice. We have these one-time scripts that you can basically copy paste into the command line on that device, and the automatic provisioning process happens where the gateway will come into Zen Console. You'll go through a brief 3 or 4 step wizard that will finalize the process, and then your gateway is ready to go and start inspecting traffic. The same applies with endpoints, where we have the ability to deploy directly onto the full suite of endpoints from Windows, Mac, and Linux, Dockerized, iOS, and so on. And we give you the option to either use installers, or you can find us on the App Store, or you can run something like Winget or even PowerShell scripts on Windows devices. The same applies for your Mac devices, where you could run a shell script or use the installer. And then for our Dockerized environments script that you run to get up and running, for iOS and Android devices, we live on the App Store, so you can install those directly. And then for guys that run big environments, enterprise scale environments, we also integrate with Jamf MDM. So everybody that's running a Apple environment, an Apple shop, can install Zenarmor directly using Jamf. And for everybody else, we have Microsoft Intune. So you can deploy to all your Windows, macOS, iOS devices using Intune very simply at scale. So that's how we deploy and manage our global organization and devices, and we have all the control that you need here. So the next step from here is to look at our Zero Trust networking, which might be new to some of you, but Zero Trust networking allows us to easily create these overlay networks, these mesh type networks between endpoints and gateways and resources. And to do this, it's really a 3-step process where you set up your network name, you give it a range, you add your endpoints and your gateways that you want to be able to communicate on this network, and then you create a policy. And because Zenarmor follows Zero Trust principles, like Soji mentioned earlier, the users will be ready to communicate with each other, and only the applications that we explicitly allow them to communicate with each other will be able to function over this network. Only the users and the applications and I'll say that again, will be able to communicate over this network. It's not like a standardized VPN where you give access to your entire network or to a segment of your network. This is controlled at layer 7. So the application that you want these users to access will only be allowed. Everything else will be denied by default. There's various ways you can set this up. So in this case, we've got a mesh network where you can connect endpoints to servers directly. You can also set this up in a way where you can have site-to-site style VPNs. So we've got an SD-WAN here, where we've got a branch in Germany and one in US. We have a direct point-to-point link between these two gateways running OPNsense. And once again, only the applications we allow across that tunnel and the users will be able to traverse the network. We can also do things like advertising the networks behind each of the gateways. So, the US branch can advertise its network behind, and the German branch can access it. We also have things like failover priority and various other things as well. So, if the one US branch gateway goes down, we could have a second to get to that same advertised network. We could build in all that failover priority as well. And as I said, this is all controlled around users and groups and various other aspects as well to ensure that it's only accessible by those users. And then the final way that we offer connectivity here, which is something new, is we have what we call internet access gateways. And here you can designate certain gateways within your network, where you can then forward all of your mobile device traffic, your iOS and Android device traffic, through these particular gateways, once again for those users, and then all the internet inspection capabilities that you would get at that gateway, or like you would now on a endpoint device, Windows, Mac OS, Linux, you now can bring to your Apple and iOS and Android devices as well. So you can allow them to forward traffic through there and still benefit from the policies. So this is how Zero Trust Networks, in a nutshell, basically ties all together. Then briefly, the other aspects of Zenarmor, which you may be familiar with, is the policies around this. So we've got internet security policies where you simply create a policy around a user and a group that you can select. All of these users and groups come in from an IDP. And from there, you can select which of them this policy would apply to. Is it applying to an endpoint directly, or to a gateway, or both, or only specific endpoints, or only specific gateways? You have all this granular control around that. And once you've decided how you want them to match, you can simply come in and start setting up your security. So here we offer all the essential one-click security functionality. You want to block malware, you want to block phishing attacks, you simply select it here, and it happens in the background. And this is all through our internal threat intelligence, as well as third-party proprietary threat intelligence as well. We also have advanced security, which gives a little bit more improved security, more recent malware attacks, botnets, C2Cs calling home, all those kind of things. It's one-click security here. And then something new that some of you may have not already seen is our new content inspection. So we can actually do inline real-time file scanning, where we can look inside particular files, like, if there's an exe there, or a script, or a zip file, PDF. We can actually do inspection on the line, or on the wire, before that gets to the endpoint of the user trying to download it. So we can offer that kind of security. The same applies with our real-time anti-phishing security, where we can, if a user clicks a potential phishing link, the inspection happens within the browser from their perspective. And before that link detonates on their computer, it will notify them in the browser, is this a threat or not? And then it gives them the option to either move away from it, or for us to block it. However you'd like to set that up, it's already there. And then we also have DNS security as well, where we can look at inspecting the DNS traffic, any malicious tunnels, any malformed, non-standard type DNS transactions. All of that happens through there. App controls and web controls remains the same as what some of you would have seen in our business edition, where you can block applications at a category level, or you can drill down into the category and then block individual applications. So in this case, we have some AI tools. It's one of the biggest problems for some people at this stage. You can go in here and block certain AI tools, or all AI tools, from being accessed. The same applies with web controls, where we've got category-based web controls, where you can block everything there. And then for TLS inspection, this is also available on our SSE and SASE subscriptions, but we offer full TLS inscription inspection, where we can decrypt and re-encrypt the traffic. And this happens all on your endpoints directly, or at your gateways specifically. So it's under your control. You're not passing it up to somebody else's cloud to do this inspection. It's within your network borders and bounds. And from here, we can once again block at a category level, or at a site-specific or application-specific level as well. So you have granular control as to how you would like to do that. And then the final thing that ties all of this new policy together is CASB, or Cloud Access Security Broker, and this gives us granular access over each application. So, for example, if we look at something like Dropbox, perhaps I want to prevent Dropbox from downloading, but I want to be able to upload. You have the granular control over the application here as well through our inline CASB solution. Then finally, just to talk about the visibility a little bit, we offer real deep down into the weeds kind of visibility where you can see all the network transactions that are happening right down to the user, where they're going, what application it's coming from, which policy it's triggered, if there's been any encryption, decryption, those kind of things. We also have around 60 plus customizable reports where you can get full visibility into your network as well, see exactly what the users are doing, what they're accessing and so forth, as well as on our Zero Trust networks, you can see the applications that are traversing these networks or trying to traverse these networks, what has been blocked, what has been allowed, and so forth. So you have full visibility throughout. And then just to tie the whole thing off, some features which we recently brought in, which you may have seen or not, but we have the IAM integration where we can integrate with things like your Microsoft Entra ID, Google Cloud, any SAML point 2 providers, we can tie in with those. We also offer local Zen console authentication if you don't have those in place. And we can bring all of that in, all of your existing users and groups into Zen console to build policies around. And then we also have the ability to offer agentless authentication as well. The way this works is if you have a gateway set up and you have some users that are sitting behind the gateway, before they can access any of the resources of the internet, those kind of things, we then require them to authenticate in the browser to be able to use those resources. So we've built this kind of functionality in as well. We also have things like threat and activity alerts, which is a new function where any threats or things that you specify will send an immediate notification to you to let you know that that this is happening at this given time. We've also built in, as I said, CrowdStrike integration. You can easily integrate with your CrowdStrike. We've got new SIM or SIEM and SAW integrations as well, so you can link and take all the great data that we collect, metadata that's collected in Zen Console, send that up to your solution. We're currently doing a big revamp on our RESTful API that we have as well. So there's a whole lot of new API endpoints that we've brought in here, as well as various other new bits of functionality that come into it. So that's Zen Console in a nutshell. And I'd like to jump back into the slides again, and I think we're going to move into a Q&A session to answer any questions that you guys might have. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, and thank you very much for this very informative webinar. That was really nice to watch. Yeah, great. Yeah, you guys can turn on the camera too as well. Yeah, hello. So yeah, let's go to the Q&A. Unfortunately, we don't have any questions right now, so I want to give everyone a heads up. Like, you can still ask questions. It's also all right if you want to ask your questions in German, if you maybe don't know how to ask correctly in English. You can also write the question in the German. To just bridge the gap a bit, maybe since I'm not that deep into networking, maybe can you give us a little yeah, what does the future hold for Zenarmor Zen console? Are there any plans? What's coming up?
Yeah, so what's coming up? Well, as a lot of the presentation has shown, Zenarmor has shifted, not only from a great Next Gen Firewall add-on that we've created for OPNsense, but we now challenging the world of secure access service edge, which took off quite well since about 2019, maybe even a little bit before that. And we came in with a new approach to this where we offer a decentralized SASE secure access service edge solution, like Soji mentioned in the presentation, and we're going to be continuing going down that particular path as well moving forward. Because like the presentation said, a lot of people are moving into remote work places now, and it's just going to continue to move in that direction. There's no need to be stuck in an office anymore. People are working from everywhere. I mean, look, I'm sitting in Cape Town,
Yeah.
by the beach, busy working kind of thing. And I think a lot of people like that kind of lifestyle, that they want that. But that doesn't also mean that companies should sacrifice security because of that and open themselves up because of that lifestyle that people want to have. So this is where we're going. We're challenging the current SASE marketplace. We're moving away from the point of presence, which essentially is where guys like Gartner came in and said, yeah, let's move all these things into the cloud and so forth. And we thought about that and said, no, we don't need the cloud to do this. We can bring it right down to an endpoint. We can bring it into your borders, into your control. And that's the most important thing. Being sovereign, not having a single point of failure. That's our kind of movement moving forward. Soji, anything else you maybe want to add to that thought?
Should we speak about the improvement that we're making to those who are familiar with the Next Gen Firewall? We're introducing some major enhancements that are coming up. Is that something we could talk about? In terms of the organization, for Next Gen Firewalls?
I'm not following. You're referring to? Sorry.
Yeah, currently the Next Gen Firewalls, they don't have the TLS-Inspection readily present, except for introducing Secure Service Edge. But we're increasing a lot of the capabilities with the Next Gen Firewall with this edition.
Yeah, so it's a continuous improvement as we evolve. We are taking our client feedback really seriously, what people are after, and we incorporating a lot of that into the product as well. So we encourage it. Anybody here that's listening to us today that has any feedback, they're more than welcome to reach out to myself or to Soji directly. We try to bring as many of that feedback we get from clients into the product as well, and we really all ears are listening to those kind of things. So yeah.
And then my role here is customer experience as well as partner enablement. So if we have some or whether you're the lead for your organization or if you're a partner interested in our partner program, and we have some other capabilities that we didn't quite show today, where we give you a partner portal, make it easy to manage your customers and be able to have the licensing. Please reach out to me. I'm happy to enable you and train you and help you have the best experience for your customers and for yourself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good to know. Okay, all right. In the meantime, some questions have come in. So the first one is about a sufficient company size to run Zenarmor for. I mean, the question asks, from what company size Zenarmor makes sense to run? Like, what's like, is there a minimum of like, say, yeah, of a company size is to run Zenarmor, or it doesn't matter at all?
I wouldn't say there's a minimum company size. Like if you look at a lot of our competitors that are in the SASE world, they are unable to efficiently service, or not, let me say, not willing to service smaller companies, mid-market size companies. And Zenarmor, this is unique to us, that we can give you this great kind of technology that we spoke about at much smaller scale. So you could have few people, as low as 5-10 people running this kind of technology efficiently. Some of the I'm not going to mention names of other vendors, but some of them, they don't even look at you if you're less than 100 or even 1,000 in some cases, and everything is enterprise based. And we feel there's a lot of people out there that can benefit from this, particularly the mid-market and the smaller businesses as well. So yes, we can service anybody from the small guys right up to the big guys. Soji, anything you want to add perhaps to that? Any thoughts?
Absolutely. One of the benefits of our architecture is exactly that. We have some people who run small home businesses, and they have just a handful of people, but they still want to have that connectivity, the visibility, and the granular control, the application visibility, and we very readily deploy for them. We also scale to very large organizations as well. Customers with 800 branch locations across the United States, as well as multiple countries where there's thousands of locations. So we're willing to work with everyone at wherever they're at. And then the great thing is that maybe they need a secure web gateway today, but they have the ability to expand into the full suite of that secure remote access and application control, all the things that Lyle has shown here today. So not only do we address size as a business from small, medium to enterprise, but we allow anyone to adopt these modern security controls.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next question. As a European resident and with regard to sovereignty issues, is the Zenarmor console mandatory? Is there no way to be entirely on premises?
So it's a very good question that. So as the technology stands right now, yes, Zen console is mandatory. The way that we store data right now is through Google BigQuery. So when you sign up and you in your region, it will then automatically store that data within the German region, within the EU, wherever your closest region is. It does that automatically, and you have the ability to also contact us to change where the data storage is. But we also understand that to become a completely sovereign solution from the management perspective is that we need to be able to give you that option to host Zen console on your own and within your own infrastructure to give you that full sovereignty. And this is something that is on our roadmap that we are currently working on at this stage. So that's what we currently have as one of our major projects, and we hoping, or not hoping, we will be giving you this in the not too distant future as well. So I hope that's a good enough answer for that one.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Well, yeah.
The actual data for your enterprise, the actual data itself, right? The actual files and the stream of the data there still is 100% within the bounds of your network. It's only the metadata about the events for your diagnostics, visibility, or your policy that's in the Zen console, but we completely respect the necessity to have everything end to end solid. So we're almost there in that regard.
Okay, very good. Yeah, there was a follow-up question, but I think you answered that. I am going to ask it still if you have anything to add, but I think you answered that already. The follow-up is it planned to have a European Zenarmor console fully managed and legally attached to an independent European company? But I think you...
Yeah, so Zenarmor already has presence in Frankfurt in Germany. We are a registered company there as well. So we've set up to be able to fall under that EU umbrella. And then as to answer your question previously, yes, we are working on a fully sovereign solution as well from the metadata perspective. So any of the traffic that you see within the visibility in Zen console, that would also be something that you would in the future be able to store in your own database of your choice and be able to manage that. As Soji mentioned previously, the data that still traverses your network, so your endpoints, your gateways, all of that physical data that's happening there, that's within your network as we currently speak. And that's something quite unique to us, where other SASE solutions need you to send all this data up to their controlled cloud, and then from there, wherever it needs to go, we give you that locally currently as we speak right now.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So yeah, the attendee also wants to know if when the not so distant future is. Is it like do you have any time frame, or is there maybe on your website some link where you can like go to and watch updates, see updates for your roadmap or something like that?
We do have a roadmap. We also encourage you to sign up to our newsletters where we can share these bits of information with you. We also from time to time host our own webinars. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, drop us a line. We'll add you onto that as well, where we give you, direct information as to that. Unfortunately, I can't give you a precise date to this point, but it's coming, and I think it's going to be worth the wait, what we're developing at this stage.
Yeah.
So
Sovereignty is always worth the wait. Okay, so next question is the overlay network feature reminds me immediately of like solutions like NetBird, Tailscale, or else if let's say NetBird is used as a VPN solution already, how would that be integrated, or how can that work in conjunction with Zenarmor?
So, well, basically, you're 100% right. Our overlay network is a direct replacement of Tailscale or of NetBird. The main difference with how we carry it out is that we give you the application control on top of the network as well. So, like your Tailscales, NetBird, and so forth, they give you port control where you can control by port. By protocol. With us, you can actually control the application that goes across that. So we would obviously suggest going for, if you wanted a fully inclusive solution, to use our product as is, then you have that end-to-end security and connectivity. But just thinking off the top of my head, and I haven't tested this yet, but if you wanted to use Zenarmor in an environment or maybe where you have NetBird, you could always spin us up as a gateway in between those NetBird or Tailscale networks. And you could filter the traffic or inspect the traffic that's leaving or entering those networks through those points where NetBird or Tailscale is running. But as I said, that's just a loose, quick solution on the top of my head. But ideally, yeah. Soji, you've got a point that you'd like to make?
So in my role, I'm actually working with the customers that have NetBird in place and they have the Zenarmor Next Gen Firewall. And I've had the experience of customers that expose access to their resources, their private resources via NetBird. And what Zenarmor has done is given that visibility that there is some peculiar traffic, there is anomalous traffic coming inbound from someone over NetBird, because it opens up connected, and there might be some level of granularity, but you don't, without that full layer 2 through 7 connectivity that we afford with the Zero Trust network access. And I'm actually going to consult with them later this week to show them how, by virtue of either putting a gateway at the remote location or it's simply installing an endpoint, instead of NetBird, they're going to be able to have the end user just simply puts in the credentials. It verifies that particular user credentials against the policy. And so it's seamless. All the connectivity is done end to end, just like NetBird. But you have that extra granularity of them only connecting to a microsegment, to a single IP address, to a single application, geolocation. If the incoming traffic is anomalous, it will be blocked automatically. You will be alerted of it. These are the things that a truly modern, full zero trust network access affords. So it is possible, and you can do it. And there's kind of the simplicity of these other things, but we also have that same simplicity and the increased granularity, visibility, control, application. You saw all the things that Lau was showing you in terms of application, web filtering, and whatnot. So when they do access, you have the beta security applied.
Okay.
So hopefully that answers this question. Or hers.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he says thanks. So it probably is a question. Yeah.
Please reach out to me for any questions. I'm happy to help or rescue you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The next question is: Can Zenarmor work alongside another firewall that is forced from an ISP?
So yeah, I would say so. When you say forced from an ISP, I'm guessing your ISP has installed this onto, sorry, Soji?
Maybe CPE,
Like a CPE.
you've been asked specifically the nature of the firewall. There could be home devices or corporate devices that are shipped for their connectivity, for their business, or for their home, and there will be a firewall bundled inside of there. If it's open WRT based, then yes, you can actually plug the Zenarmor inside it. But yeah, I do need to derail you. Well, hypothetically, if he clarifies further, the firewall, is it being forced on an endpoint or is it an actual gateway?
Yeah. So basically what it boils down to is, like, if you do have an existing firewall, you could run Zenarmor behind it if you wanted to. So if you had a typical CPE, your ISP provided a home router, office router, you could run Zenarmor behind that as well. You could have a segment behind it and you could protect that network. Yeah.
In clarification, sorry, a CPE stands for customer provided equipment. So if I'm using, I hate to start using acronyms, especially with the language that might potentially be a barrier. But as Lyle mentioned, you could have that firewall, the traffic comes in, and then you could have Zenarmor behind there as a gateway to your whole entire network, or you can just install the endpoint on your gateway, and as long as the unfettered access for the endpoint is permissible by the firewall, you can absolutely extend the ZTNA and other aspects there.
Okay, great. Yeah. The attendee just specified yes, he means hardware endpoint, so CPE it is probably. Okay.
Good question.
Yeah. Next question is, I think the problem is the Digital Cloud Act, which allows American feds to force American companies to hand out data from other located data storage. I don't see a question in here, just a statement. But maybe you want to react? Okay, so yeah, you agree.
No, that is a problem, right? So how do you address that? If with your traditional VPN, it could, as they're adopting some sort of non-sanctioned cloud SaaS application that resides physically outside of the borders of your data sovereignty of the compliance. If you don't have the visibility there, that could be a pure violation. They might be thinking, "Hey, I've adopted this new application. You really gets the work done, but now we violated. Now you're in violation of compliance." We provide that visibility and the ability to block the application or whatnot, or mitigate it, or alert your security team that this is happening within your environment, and then you can write the policies accordingly. But it is absolutely a real life struggle. It's a real life problem. I hope that answers that fellow or person's question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Right. Yeah. I mean, we have still the one with many questions. Just added one more. That's still about the what was it? Yeah, the sovereignty issue is like he says second, there it is. Storage is not relevant, only governance. If there is no governance independence, the only solution is on premise. But yeah, of course.
Oh, that's why we're designing it.
Yeah.
He's absolutely correct. Sure, we could put the storage within the boundaries of the requirement there, but unless we can truly host it completely, we understand the necessity for 100% data sovereignty. Point well taken, and we're working on it. And Lyle being the chief product officer or product manager, I'll let it speak towards the timelines there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a work in progress. We currently working on it, as I said. I don't want to commit to any particular timelines just at this stage, but it's follow us on our roadmap, join our webinars, join our newsletters. We'll keep everybody posted as things come up.
I certainly publish those, and this is very good feedback to know that this is in high demand. We hear it constantly, so we're on.
Okay. So, yeah, we don't have any more questions. It's like many people are thanking you for the webinar, all the information, all the answers to the questions, and yeah, I want to +1 that. Like, yeah, thank you very much, especially Shoji. Like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning right now for you, so yeah, really appreciate it that you still take your time. And yeah, many thanks. It was very great listening to you too. And yeah, hopefully maybe we will have another appointment at another time. I would be happy if that were the case. So thank you again, very much
Thank you
appreciated.
so much. Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us, and it's been a pleasure being here. And yeah, Stefan, we're going to have to take you up on that offer to be back again and talk
Yeah.
about some other topics.
Yeah.
You know, if there's anything of interest that the audience perhaps would like us to focus on, we can build another, you know, webinar presentation around that, and we can go into more detail about certain things. We'd be happy to do.
Yeah. So yeah, there is a survey after this webinar, so you can just write down if you want more topics regarding Zenarmor and OPNsense. So yeah, just write it down, and we'll organize something pretty shortly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, and yeah. Um, then there's nothing left than to give you a heads up on our next webinar dates. If you want to know what topics are up next on our webinars, you can find all the dates if you follow this QR code, or if you go to this very long link. You can find it on the knowledge base on our website. There's always the newest webinars. I think you can also sign up to our newsletter, and then you will also get the newest webinar dates. So keep an eye out for interesting topics on there. And yeah, so once again, thank you guys, and thank you to everyone watching, taking the time to accompany us here. And have a nice rest of the week. I hope it's not too hot at your place, wherever you are. And stay hydrated, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.